All right. Let's see. Hopefully this is working. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Hello, hello. Hello. Anybody? Am I live? Can you hear me? Hello. Is anyone out there? Hello. 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 It says that it's picking up my mic. Yes. Hello there. How are you? All right. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Today is gold. All right, we'll give people time to filter in. We'll give it a few minutes. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Had a very busy weekend, but a good busy, but busy all the same. I'm not a big fan of doing things. So it was a lot, but it was all very good stuff and a lot of fun. So, and now I'm here talking to you people, talking to everyone. How is everyone else doing? How is everyone else doing? I have my Diet Coke, so I'm channeling my Jay Baker. Good as gold. There we go. All right, we'll just give it a few more minutes. We got people coming in. So oh, I might have to close my window. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Um Hi Chris. Hey Zoe. Excellent, excellent. All right. I hear stuff outside. I don't know if my mic's picking it up, but hopefully it's not. So all right. Yes. Hello, everyone. So today we'll be talking about a light topic of feeling abandoned by God. So, and then we'll solve all the world's problems, everyone. Just kidding, we won't. But hopefully we'll navigate it okay. I'm Chris seems yeah, Chris is in the chat. So, I'm very glad that they're here. I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad everyone's here. And so I guess we'll get started, right? Oh, that's not your Chris. Oh, other Chris, uh, say hi in chat. Not to put you on the spot, but say hi in chat. Um, um, but to all Chris's, welcome. And so, but Chris, I hope you do speak up. I hope everyone speaks up. It's a very that's the environment we want, right? Everybody could speak up and communicate and chat and so I am speaking today, as you could see. As far as hey Steve, all right. Hopefully we do some good here. Hopefully we do some good. Um Today is Minnie's birthday, so they're doing birthday stuff and I am here. So we could get started. Well, why not? Why not? So um there's there's a few things that like triggered the talk that we're gonna have today. Um some of it is from Paul Simon, some of it's from Star Wars, but it's all what's like making me think to have this talk today. Um the Paul Simon bit is that in the song from the album Graceland, which is it could be my favorite album of all time. I'm not sure. It's up there. But there's the song You Could Call Me Al, and the song starts out with um a man walks down the street, is wondering why he's so soft in the middle when the rest of his life is so hard. And if there was ever a line that summed up where we're the times we're living in now with the pandemics and isolation and quarantine and we got politics, pandemic, shootings, gas prices. Like everything in my life is so hard except for like my gut, which is very soft. So I'm very, like because we just keep, for me at least, just keep growing because we're just isolated and can't do anything except for eat and complain, right? So I that just made me laugh when I was hearing it, but then it's like, yeah, everything seems so hard except for my stomach. But then we start to it's I think it's impossible to not feel um abandoned by God at times like this. Um and right off the bat, like I wish I had answers and I wish I had silver linings, but I don't, because I don't think it's that easy. But I think that in all of this mess that we can find some hope and we can find ways to not beat ourselves up over it as much as we probably do. And the main thing in this talk is that I want people to know when they are feeling abandoned by God that they are not alone in this feeling. They're not alone in general, but especially in this feeling, they're not alone. So, um there's the new Star Wars show out. Don't worry, I won't get into spoilers. Everything I'm going to talk about takes place in like the first 4 minutes of the first episode. So, but the new Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and it the Revenge of the Sith, which is the episode 3, it ends on a note in which Yoda is telling Obi-Wan Kenobi that your former master has found a way to commune with the living even though he's been dead. He's found a way to keep in keep in touch basically. And so when the show opens up, it's all these years later and Obi-Wan is still trying to talk to his master Qui-Gon Jinn, for fellow Star Wars nerds out there. So but not getting any answer. He's asking over and over, "Where are you? I need your help. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" And so seeing this tired, beaten down man that used to know exactly what he believed in and exactly what he his priorities were and everything is now just like in a desert alone being like, "Master, where are you? Like come on. Come on." And so all of these things combined, and then my favorite song probably of all time is the song called Walking is Still Honest, by this band, Against Me. Great punk band, my favorite. And in that song, she sings a line of, "Can anybody tell me why God won't speak to me?" And that I heard that probably back in 2001, and it resonated so much that it's still my favorite. So this is something I've been wrestling with for over 20 years. Um, so all these things, I was like, you know what? I want to speak about this stuff. And so, and I think a reason why that the Obi-Wan stuff affected me so much is because for years now, I find myself very bored and disinterested um, in stories that only focus as on Jesus as God, or like on the divine parts of Jesus. And I'm not saying that Jesus is not divine. I'm only saying that that storyline is very boring to me, and it doesn't speak to me because I cannot relate to perfection. I can't relate to God, but I can relate to flaws and doubt and insecurity and depression. So enter movies like Last Temptation of Christ, which we have talked about, Jesus Christ Superstar, all that stuff where it's focused stuff that is kind of like shot down because it does not talk about the divine nature of Jesus. But to me, it registers so much because like, no, I get this guy. So so it's like, give me those stories. Give me the stories of the people that are lost and confused. Like, give me this Obi-Wan, that we're dealing with now, rather than the other Obi-Wans we've dealt with. So often in church, or just being raised in a Christian faith and a Christian environment, we get robbed of these types of stories a lot, because we see a lot of times that doubt in your faith, or feeling abandoned by God, that you're doing something wrong. It's your lack of faith, and on occasion we'll get sermons about doubting Thomas, but how he wasn't really doubting, and it was actually a strength to him. Or we'll get stories about how, even though Peter is sinking in the water and Jesus is saying, "Oh, ye of little faith," but still Peter got out of the boat. So we will get some stories about that aren't as condemning us for our lack of faith or struggling with it. But those are pretty few and far between. And so it's hard to get constant comfort through stories like that, when a lot of the times we're just seen as no one wants to talk about. They feel abandoned. They feel that God's not with them. They don't know what they believe, because that's just almost, it's not like condemned, but it is not. It's all like, no, you don't talk about that. Like, come on, it's and so when we isolate, as we're seeing now with actual having to isolate the last few years, we start to feel very alone. And then the more we talk about stuff, we go, oh, I feel that, you feel that too. I feel that same way. Um, and so by treating this topic as taboo, we really do ourselves a disservice, because we all feel this way. And if we keep it hidden, that's where we could start to resent the faith. We could resent God. We could resent and hate ourselves. We'll feel judged and alone, that we have no one to talk to. And all this kind of causes division and separation. But when we actually talk about it, that's where we could all come together and find common ground. Like, oh, you feel abandoned? I feel abandoned. Okay, I'm not alone. And that in itself will give us some hope in a topic that there really is not that much hopeful feelings in. And and to the extent that when I was preparing for this talk, I put a story up on Instagram, and it was like, anything that you want me to try to talk about, let me know, and I will. And then I had some discussions with friends, and the scripture of Jesus saying, like, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That came up, and my friend said, I cling to that one more than I'd like to admit. And I understood where she was coming from, but I was like, no, admit it. Like, do not be afraid to admit it. This is where the help and the healing lies. Admit it. Like, because we all feel that way. And so for in today's talk, we will be jumping all around the Bible, which in itself shows how common of an issue this is. It's not just designated to one book of the Bible or one person. It spans the whole Bible, generations and thousands of years. So we'll spend a lot of time in Ruth. We'll spend a little bit of time in Samuel. We'll talk about the various heroes of the Old and New um, Testaments, and then because this feeling that we have and we share together, feeling abandoned by God, is as old as time. Like, that's one of the things that you could say is literally as old as time itself, is that feeling. And we will also be talking about the cartoon Futurama. um so as much as I would like to talk about scriptures of that will say like God will never abandon you, you're never alone, God is always with you, I would love to say that, but I would feel a bit dishonest because there are scriptures, like scriptures in Isaiah, in which God themselves says, I did abandon you for a little bit, but now I'm back and I won't do it again. And so, for there to be scriptures of God saying that he has abandoned people, how I'm not comfortable in saying, like, yeah, but no, this scripture says you'll never be abandoned, because it's like literally God's saying this in the Bible. Um, and on top of that, there are 400 years between the Old Testament and the New Testament in which nothing really happens. There's no prophets, there's no revelations through scripture. And so if there is those 400 years and there's also God saying, I have abandoned people, I'm not confident to say like, no, this scripture says you're never alone, because between the time of Malachi and John the Baptist, there's a very big silence. And of course, it goes without saying that just because there was no prophecies or no revelations, that doesn't mean that God has abandoned us. It doesn't equal that. But in the same breath, if someone is like, "Oh, I'm always here for you," but every time you reach out to them, they're never around, they never respond, they never show you they're around, even though they're there, it's gonna feel exactly the same as being abandoned. So, and then who knows? This is not even a theory. I'm just saying, literally, who knows? What if we're in another like 400-year esque period of nothing really happening, no prophecies, no signs from God or anything? So I can't focus on any of that. But what I could focus on is the stuff that unites us and makes us not feel alone. Um, so let's focus on us, shall we? Um, so the most important thing is that feeling abandoned by God is completely normal. Like, sincerely, it is. It's completely normal, and everyone experiences it, including all our biblical heroes. So this is not even all of them. This is like Jesus does. We know that for a fact because he cries out literally, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Moses feels it. King Saul feels it. David, Elijah, Naomi, Gideon, Isaiah, Joshua, Solomon, Job. Like, Job literally has besides his the whole story, Job is literally says like he's no God is nowhere to be found. When I look to the north, he must be to the south, and when I look to the south, he must be to the north, because he is nowhere to be found. John the Baptist, Jonah, Jacob, Jeremiah, Abraham, all of these people have wrestled with the same thing that we are wrestling with now. So it's not just Peter before he gets out of the boat, or doubting Thomas. We're talking about like these heavy hitters are have struggled. So if you're feeling this way, you're look at the company that you're in, like you're not bad, you're not wrong, you're not backslidden. Um and like we're all on the same level as these people. And another important thing that we could see from that list is it does not matter the level of faith that you have or the works that you've done or seen, miracles you've seen. Because if Elijah, Moses, and Jesus and David have all felt this way, think of what they all have done and what they have seen and what they've witnessed and been around, and they still felt it. So it doesn't matter if you've witnessed and seen things. It doesn't matter if you're a pastor or just someone in the congregation. If you're um high or low, like everybody feels this regardless. So we're all on equal ground here with this feeling. um and another very, very, very important thing is that in all of these stories with all of these people in the Bible, no one is ever judged for their lack of faith or feeling abandoned. The one exception you could say is maybe Job, but Job also is more put in his place because of the attitude in which he approaches God about it. It's not that he feels abandoned, but he's just very like not quite like F you, God, but like not far from it, to the extent that God is like, who do you think you are? Like, you don't know where the wind or originates from. I know. Like, you don't know where the sun goes when it's nighttime. Like, I know where it goes. You don't. So like, watch yourself. Stay in your lane. Like, but besides that, like nobody's really ever judged or smited for their lack of faith, belittled or anything. A lot of times, they're comforted, right? Like it's like, don't be afraid, rise up, like I'm with you, don't be scared. So there's a lot of comfort, but there's no judging. So why do people judge us, or maybe sometimes we judge other people when they're feeling this lack of faith and feeling abandoned by God? Because none of these people that I listed in the Bible were ever shamed for it, and they are big, big names. Um so no one is above feeling like this. And I don't want to speak in absolutes, but I will this time, and I will say that anybody that tells you that they don't feel abandoned by God and they never have felt abandoned by God, or they're not having like a crisis of faith, is either in denial or they're lying to you. Everybody, because everybody has felt this. What we're experiencing now is that these things used to be these fleeting dark nights of the soul, but now those dark nights are just stretching on for years and years and years. And so that makes it a lot more difficult for us. So the first example we're going to look at, um, in this idea that nobody is above feeling this way, is we're going to look at John the Baptist. And I know I don't normally actually read quotes from the Bible, but I am going to do this time. So in Luke 7, this is what Jesus himself says about John the Baptist. He goes, a prophet? Yes. I tell you, John is more than a prophet. This is written about him. I will send my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare the way for you. I tell you, John is greater than any other person ever born, but even the least important person in the kingdom of God is greater than John. So it does go to the lowest shall be first and stuff. But he says at the time where he's talking to people, he says, I tell you, John is greater than any other person ever born. And so John the Baptist, who is either metaphorically Elijah, who is preparing the way for the Messiah, or he could quite possibly be the literal reincarnation of Elijah, because there's some scriptures that point to that. So if he's metaphorically or literally Elijah, um he when he's in jail, he's feeling alone, and he sends people out to talk to Jesus and being like, John wants to know, like, are you really who you say you are, or are we waiting for somebody else? And so, if the greatest person who ever lived, in Jesus's own words, is feeling this this like doubt and this abandonment, especially when he's in jail, he knows death is right around the corner, and he's just like, he sends his guys out, like, please go talk to Jesus. Ask him if he is who he says he is, please, because I need to know. I'm struggling right now. Um, and then speaking of Elijah too, we have Elijah who performed massive, massive miracles. We're talking he shut off the heavens and created a famine. He's rained fire down from heaven. He killed the prophets of Baal. He's literally outrun a horse on foot. Um, he parted seas like Moses did, right? He throws his cloak down and the seas part. And then he's in a cave, like later on in his life, scared to death, feeling alone and abandoned, being like, God, just let me die. If you're not going to be with me, just let me die. Um, so these are such big names, and they're feeling exactly how we feel. Like that is, I find that as encouraging because it's like, oh, maybe I'm not so like crappy for this. Like maybe I'm not so such a lacking in faith. So backslidden. And and then we have you have King David, who at a time was willing to go out and fight this giant of a man in which everybody, all like complete armies, were scared of. But David's like, I'll go out there, no armor, just give me 5 stones and I got this because God's with me. So how could this giant slay me? And then fast forward a little bit later in his life, and he's literally writing psalms that that are like, God, where are you? Like your absence from me is causing me physical pain. Like it is hurting me. And it resonates so much that one of David's psalms is what Jesus quotes while he's on the cross. Oh my God, why have you forsaken me? So this is also coming from um Cass Smith is not happy that I am talking. Oh well. And so where was I? Oh, so Jesus is, so you have David who once was so secure and in his faith and presence of God that is so torn up later on, being like, God, where are you? And then Jesus, that's what he quotes on the cross. So now this is uh where we get into some thinking of abandonment versus the perception of abandonment. And so this is something that I struggle with because, as I said in Isaiah, um God literally says, I did abandon you. I won't do it again, but I did abandon you. So there is kind of that biblical evidence that God has done this in the past. But then also we know that God has a way of looking like they're passing us by even when they aren't. So with Moses and Elijah, um, we see almost the same story in which they're like, God, you have to show yourself to me because I am struggling. And God goes, okay, I'll show myself to you. But what happens is, don't look, close your eyes, and I'm going to walk past you. And when I am past you, open your eyes and you will see like the dust that I kick up. And even that will be a little bit too much for you. But so God reveals himself to Moses and Elijah in by passing by. And you could just see the trail of where he was. And now we see this again with Jesus when he's walking on water. The scriptures say that he's walking and he sees the disciples in the boat and he's just plans to walk past them. Now, I don't think this is a lesson. I personally think that Jesus just wants to go home and he's tired and he wants to sleep. But still the same imagery is he means to pass the boat without acknowledging them, and then he hears how scared they are, and like, and they're crying out, they're scared. So he turns around and just like goes and comforts them. We see it again with Jesus when he's sleeping in the boat and there's a crazy storm, and he's content to just keep sleeping. Like, he doesn't feel the need to get involved. But then everyone's so scared. So he gets up and he calms the sea. So Jesus has this, um, God and Jesus have a history of kind of, when they're not like, even when they don't abandon us, that they look like they are going to. They're always walking past us, but then they turn and comfort us. And so this kind of brings us to the story, the book of Ruth, and we're going to focus in on the character of Naomi. And because from her point of view, and our point of view too, as we're reading it, I don't know who could deny it. She feels very abandoned by God, very forsaken. Her husband dies, her two sons die, so she just is with her daughter-in-laws, one of them being Ruth. And so what happens is, she even gets to the point of telling her daughter-in-laws, like, go, like, leave. You don't want to be with me. God has abandoned me. I can't do anything for you. Even if by some miracle I had more sons, are you going to wait until they're old enough to be married? Like, go live your life, because God has left me. And so that is her point of view on things. But then by the time the story finishes, Ruth leaves a child in her care, and that child um, is Jesse's father, and Jesse is the father of David, of King David, in which the lineage of Jesus comes from. So she feels abandoned, but that's the one's like, is it just her perception, or is she actually abandoned? And so this is where we're going to talk a little bit about the show Futurama, which is a Matt Groening cartoon. He's the creator of The Simpsons, and then he made the show Futurama, which I think is better than The Simpsons. But there's an episode called Godfella, like Goodfellas, but Godfellas. And I'll try to give a brief summary. Basically, they're in space. There's one of the main characters is named Bender, and he's an alcoholic robot. And so he's lost in space, and he encounters an asteroid field, gets hit by a small piece of asteroid, and then he looks down at his chest, and he sees that a small, like, microbacteria colony has created. And so basically they are like a sentient life form, and they, in their point of view, they crashed into this thing, and there's a creature, like a being there, so they start praying to this being, Bender, who as God, like. And so we get to see Bender try to play God to these people, and then everything that he does just turns completely bad. Like, people are poor and they need money, so he gives them a coin, but they're microbacteria, so the coin just crushes the whole the whole town. Or they're like, "Oh, our crops aren't growing. Please send us some light, some sunlight." And so he reflects like sunlight off of his visor, and just like burns the whole city by mistake. So everything he's trying to do is causing more pain. And eventually the whole civilization that was living on this robot floating in space dies. But Bender is still floating in space, and then he encounters a constellation of stars, almost like a Milky Way, and the stars are blinking in binary. And basically, what Bender discovers is God, like, that God is this binary system. And basically he has these great conversations with God, and stuff kind of like, "Are you really God?" "Yes, I'm God." "So you know what I'm going to do before I do it?" And God's like, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, what if I do something different?" And God's like, then I don't know that. Like it's very kind of a conversation you would picture God having, where it's very like philosophical and answering questions with questions. And I wrote down some quotes, if I could find them, that really stood out. So, like Bender is talking to God, and Bender goes, "I was God once," and God goes, "I saw you were doing very well until everyone died," which was great. And then, but God says, the struggle that God has, and he's telling this to Bender: if you do too much, people are dependent on you. If you do nothing, they lose hope. So you need a light touch. And when you do things right, people won't be sure that you've done anything at all. And so um we'll jump forward in the story, in which Bender's friends on Earth are trying to find Bender lost in space, and they get to a monastery that has a gigantic telescope. And so they want to use the telescope to search for Bender. And so there's these kind of like Tibetan monks that are using the telescope to look for God. And so the other characters lock the monks in a closet so they could use the telescope to try to find Bender. Eventually they give up and they leave, and they're walking away, totally left the monks in the locked in the closet. And then God hears that they're looking for Bender, so God sends Bender back to Earth, and they get reunited. And the main character of the whole show, his name is Fry. He goes, "Oh, we forgot about the monks locked in the closet." And then he's like, "You know what? Never mind. I'm sure their God will free them. So let's just go." And Bender goes, "No, I talked to God in space, and God told me he doesn't do anything. So if we want those monks saved, we got to save them ourselves, because God's not going to do it." And so they go back and they free the monks, and then the camera zooms out, zooms out, zooms out, zooms out to this to God as the binary stars, and God chuckles and goes, um, "If you do things right, people won't be sure that you did anything at all," implying that all of this worked out in order to save the monks from the closet. But the whole time on Earth, everyone's thinking like, God's not doing anything. We have to do it. And so it's interesting. And yeah, of course, it's a very easy answer, very convenient for us to be like, "Oh no, God really is at work. We just can't see it." But that is something that always stuck with me. And then, 20 years ago, when I was in college, I was at a Christian college, very new to the school. I was away from home. Probably my friends that were there maybe left for the weekend, or, because when you first go away to college, the first few weekends, people that can go home are trying to go home because they're trying to adjust to being away. And it was a time where I was a lot more zealous and kind of more legalistic in my faith and everything like that. Well, a lot more compared to now. And I remember thinking I wasn't having like too much of a dark night of the soul, but I was feeling like homesick for my friends, and then my college friends weren't there. And I did pray. I was like, "God, like if you could send me a friend, man, this is getting dark, and I don't really like it. Um, and so please, like, send me a friend." And I'm not even joking. At that time, as soon as I stopped praying, there was a knock on my door, and I opened it, and it was this kid that I was friendly with, David Kim. And he goes, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Nothing." He's like, "Can I come in and like hang out, because I'm bored and I just need to like talk to somebody." Now, of course, this could all be coincidental. He could have been going through the same thing I was, but he was being more active in it than I was. I was just talking to the ceiling, where maybe he was like, "No, I'm going to get out and go do something for myself. I'm going to go save these monks myself." And then, but for all I know, that was an answer to my prayer. But this opens an interesting thing about God too, in which, like, if David Kim was feeling the same way that I was, he was going about his life and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go look for a friend to talk to." And then me needing having a friend in need, like both our needs were met, but like our lives don't revolve around each other. So it was a very interesting thing, and it was very on par with this Futurama episode. So that always stuck with me. Because so that like are things at work behind the scenes, like are we abandoned, or is that just our point of view and we feel like we're abandoned? And because what I wrestle with is kind of like the tale of two gods. So I I see I can make sense of a god that I would compare to say like Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen or Silver Surfer, where they don't get involved in human lives, they don't stop crime, they don't do anything because their priorities are so vast and out there that like even human life, even planets, like or like countries and cities don't mean anything to them. Like Silver Surfer was dealing with a being that ate planets. So his struggles like cosmic, and same with Dr. Manhattan, who could see all of time at once. And so humans were very trivial to him. And being that he could see everything, then bacteria on Mars is no different than human life, to him. He was very It's like he knew so much that he became closed off. And so I could see a God that is dealing with that, where we're very particular, like, God, I need a friend, or God, this person's sick, they need help, please, like, heal this person. And um and where it means so much to us, but we're talking also about God that is dealing with what is it, 7 billion people in the world. And God, even if someone doesn't believe in God, doesn't mean that God doesn't believe in them. God doesn't play favorites. He doesn't only take care of people that believe in Him, especially because no one knows how any of this works. Like, we have the Bible and we learn, but it's like we're not. We quote the Bible like, "Ugh," but like for everyone in this chat, like we'll be like, the Bible means this, but then that's just in on Long Island in New York in America. But we have people in Canada that what so when they're thinking like, no, the Bible means this, they're just speaking from life in Canada. But it's like it's so much bigger than that. So I could see a God that is like, here's our sincere prayers of like, please, like this person, this child has cancer, like you have to like do something. But like when you're that far removed, what is that prayer in the long run? So that's the one God. And then the other one that counters that and butts heads with that is the God of the Bible that says, even when you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew everything about you. I know the amount of hairs on your head. Jesus says, God takes care of the birds. They're not just dropping dead from the sky. He takes care of them. And aren't you worth more than birds to God? So you're like, it's a tale of these two gods. And so that's why it's so hard to uh find answers in this. And so Zoe is put a comment in chat that is very much the crux of this talk. Is there a difference between being abandoned by God and feeling abandoned by God? Because from our point of view, it's the same exact thing. And so what I'm going to focus on now as we're starting to wrap this up is, what is our role in this? What is Josh's role? What's Terry's role? What's Zoe's role? Um in all of this. And what I found in my studies, especially preparing for this, is our role is to be there for each other, and to be there without judgment, and to be there with grace. I know that sounds very cliche because that is the revolution, like motto or mantra or our belief system, whatever you want to call it. But this is the way I see it, because you have the story. We'll go back to the story of Naomi. And Naomi is feeling abandoned by God and tells her daughter-in-laws, please, please just leave. Like, go live your life. I'm no good. And she has one daughter-in-law, Ruth, that stays with her. And together they help each other survive. And they're bouncing off of each other. Ruth is like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna follow the people that are cutting the harvest, and anything they drop, I'll pick up for us, and so we could eat. And we're not gonna starve to death." And then she finds favor with somebody by doing that, and so she does that for Naomi, and then Naomi is like, "Oh, Boaz has recognized you. So do this. He's going to be here tonight. Go there and basically propose. It's complicated, but basically go to him when he's tired after he's done with work and propose marriage to him." And so like they're helping each other and they're supporting each other. And like I said, from that we get the father of Jesse, who is the father of David, and from that exchange. And if you look at King Saul, which is a very interesting story, in this particular instance, Saul has like gotten rid of all the psychic mediums, all the witches, all the prophets of other gods from his land through jail or death. He's dismissed all of them. And then Saul is feeling abandoned by God. Armies are rising against him. He can't get rid of this David kid, and David keeps getting the upper hand of him to the extent of multiple times David could have killed him without Saul even knowing. And like David lets him know, like, no, you're God's anointed. That's the only reason I didn't kill you, but I can. And like, like, here's the spear that I would have done it with, and you wouldn't have known. And so like Saul's praying and praying and calling out to God, and not not hearing anything, to the extent that he disguises himself and he asks around, like, I know that the king got rid of all the psychic mediums and all the witches, but is there one that I could talk to? And they don't know that it's King Saul, and they lead him to the witch of Endor. And um basically she's like, no, I can't do any medium stuff, I can't do any spiritual stuff, you're gonna get me killed. And he's like, no, I trust me, everything's gonna be fine. And so she calls up the prophet Samuel, I think it was. Oh shoot, I should probably know that. I think it's Samuel. And then basically Samuel is not the answer that Saul's looking for, because Samuel's like, no, God left you, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, he told you he was going to leave you, and he did, and so you're screwed, man. I don't know what to tell you. And so Saul is distraught, and so the witch that all of her friends and people of her profession and spirituality were either killed or in jail hears that Saul is doomed, and she's like, you look very tired, here, please rest, you look hungry, eat food, like, do you need to take care of yourself? And Saul's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then basically she appeals to like Saul's men, like, come on, like, he's clearly very weak and very tired, he needs help, he needs support. And so they get so she goes and she kills her fatted calf. Now, a fatted calf is something that people have for special occasions. So if the calf was already fattened, she was probably saving it for something, and she killed it for Saul to help to comfort him, because he was so lost and abandoned by God. And this was somebody that he would have had killed if she was ever found out before this. You have the good Samaritan just laying beaten, probably feeling very abandoned by God, and then the Samaritan comes and takes care of them. And even to the extent of Jesus is on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why am I alone? And the other people, everyone's making fun of him, including one of the thieves. And then the other thief is like, hey, you're here and I'm here for a reason. We're terrible people. We did bad things. We deserve this. This man did nothing, and he's suffering. So like basically like, shut your mouth. Show some respect. Obviously this went down a lot different because they're dying and nailed to a piece of wood and suffocating. But that's the exchange. So like Jesus is alone, like you've left me, you've forgotten me, and then there's someone there to be like, no man, you don't deserve this. And you know what? Just don't save me. Don't do anything. Just, if you're going where you say you're going and it's paradise, just remember me. Just think of me. And Jesus says, well, you'll be with me there today. And so that's our role. Our role is to not to convince someone that they're not abandoned by God, not to prove anything right or wrong. It's just to be there with people, right? Like if someone's feeling abandoned, like feel abandoned with them. Show them grace, show them love, show them that yeah, there's no difference between being abandoned and feeling abandoned, but you know what? I'm here for you. And maybe I'm here because God abandoned you, or maybe God didn't abandon you and that's why I'm here. But either way, I'm here. I'm not judging you because I feel where you're coming from. I felt this before. I feel it right now. The only reason I'm not feeling it right now is because I'm helping you and helping you helps me. So, because nothing that we could say or do will ever stop us from feeling abandoned by God. It just, if if Elijah and John the Baptist feel abandoned by God, like if Solomon in all his wisdom feels abandoned by God, like how are we not going to? If Abraham feels abandoned by God, people from Genesis all the way through Revelation feel abandoned by God. So there's nothing we could do to change that. We're always going to feel that way. Um and so but in the end it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we are abandoned or if we just feel that way because the end result's the same. So all we could do is just be there for each other. And know that we're all going through the same struggles and we'll to just be there for each other with grace and understanding and without judgment to help each other through it because after all we're all fighting the same battle. So that's the talk, and so please I would love to hear your thoughts or questions or have conversations. um so thank you all for tuning in and sticking with me. I saw the more you talk about God abandoning us, the more the numbers were dropping. And there's one person that was very upset that Jay was celebrating his daughter's birthday after she recovered from COVID. So, people, I know this talk wasn't for everybody, but thank you for sticking it out because this is something that I've been struggling with, and a lot of people I know have been struggling with it. And so, just like my quest with mental health issues, I want to destigmatize feeling abandoned by God because there's no way to fix it. There's only all we could do is power through, and the only way we could do that is with each other. So, if anyone has any thoughts they want to throw around, let me scroll through some of these comments and then see where we go. Um, okay. Bible verses that give me strength. So Charlie, I in terms of Bible verses that give me strength, there are not too many of them because stories of the Bible give me more strength than standalone verses. Um, so, but like the verse of that, how suffering leads to endurance leads to understanding builds character, and character gives you hope. That gives me some strength because that shows that suffering goes through a whole bunch of stuff and the outcome is character and hope. So that does, but overall Bible stories give me more strength than verses. Zoe, they said Psalm 88, so we could look into that. Yes, Charlie, like the teachings would do more for me than specific verses. So um I'm glad people like the Futurama stuff. So yeah, so as a Canadian, I can confirm that the Bible says that God is a black Canadian lesbian. um so my favorite color is the color pink because I think it's just a happy color, so I'll take any happiness that I can. So, Steve, I'm glad that you liked it. So, oh, Steve brings up a very good point. Just being with someone when they feel abandoned with them, just like Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God is with us, not rescuing us, not fixing us, but with us. That's great. Zoe said, Chris, my pal that they're watching with, says it's a good message. It's good to finally hear someone say that God has left you. And I mean, it's it's true. That's I don't know enough about it to say yes or no, but I do know scriptures were saying that God said, "Hey, I abandoned you." I Scripture does that same scripture says I'm not going to do it again, but I mean, I don't. Who am I to say what God means and everything? So, um, but yeah, no, I think I want to take the stigma out of all of this and just be open and honest because that's the only way we're going to get through it. We'll never find any answers. I don't think. And when we do come up with find answers, odds are we're going to be not of this earth anymore. So unless King Saul has a medium summon us like a force ghost, we won't be able to really share that. So all we could do is just be there with each other and for each other. So there we go. Good stuff, guys. Thank you. Thank you. But, so we'll give it a few more minutes if anyone. Oh, a force ghost is from Star Wars. If you know, that's when like Obi-Wan or Yoda, they appear as a ghost. It's a force ghost. That's a I was referencing back to my Obi-Wan mention. So force ghost is from Star Wars, in which they just come back as a spectral form of themselves. They don't seem to be able to interact with anything, but they have knowledge and they can talk. Oh no, in Last Jedi, Yoda as a Force ghost sets fire to something. So, um, so there we have it. So, I guess we'll call it a day. Everyone, go enjoy your Sunday. Thank you very much for um hanging out with me. For the great comments in chat, and I'm sure Jay will be back next week unless something unforeseen comes up. But just again to clarify, this was very much in the works for for over a week that I was going to talk today. So because it's a birthday. So everybody, thank you, and we will. Jay is gold. So excellent. Zoe, Chris, enjoy your day. Terry, enjoy your day. Victoria, Steve, everyone, enjoy your day. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you again for hanging out, and we will talk soon. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.